podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Right, Dan, it's one of those weeks when football seems a bit meaningless when there's a war raging just a few hundred miles away from London, where you are. But there has been football. There weren't many fireworks at Old Trafford, I have to say. What do you want to get into first? United's limp performance? Should we talk about what's going on with the football aspect of the Ukraine-Russia?
Go on then, let's do that.
Yeah. Where do we start? There's a whole bunch of stuff with Chelsea we can get into, but the United angle here is that they appear to have, or at least exploring or trialling the balloon of cancelling their deal with Aeroflot, which I have to say I didn't realise was majority state-owned. Paul and I had talked about United's link to Saudi Telecom and other less than savoury regimes, and didn't realise that exactly where this money was coming from.
I mean, the thing is, it's one of those situations, isn't it, where if they really cared, it wouldn't be like this in the first place.
Well, that's very true. Yes. Yeah.
And people only really care now it's gone like this, and it will be the consideration, I don't imagine, will involve the words right and wrong. It will involve the words, can we get away with it or not?
Yep.
Because it's in that kind of line between, well, although someone told me yesterday that on the sort of kind of similar point that I read last week that Putin controls more money than anyone else in the world.
Yeah.
And someone told me yesterday that for being president of Russia, you get like $150,000 a year or something.
Yep.
And so you got this guy who's somehow worth about $9 billion pounds or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, we can laugh about it, but the role that sport and football has played in all of this is not to be underestimated. I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
We've got Putin and Abramovich's money in Chelsea, and I always thought, and I know it has been written, that Abramovich bought Chelsea because around the time people like people that knew Putin and crossed him started to disappear. So that suddenly, who's Roman Abramovich? Oh, that's Roman Abramovich, and getting rid of Roman Abramovich in that way would be a problem once he bought Chelsea. But I mean, the other option is that he was told by Putin to buy Chelsea as part of this, we're diversifying money into places like London, so that you kind of start buying influence and buying power and make it much harder to take the money back. So yeah, one of those two things. I'll tell you what didn't happen. He didn't sit there with a chubby watching United and Real Madrid in 2003.
Yeah.
That is not why Putin. That's not why Abramovich owns Chelsea.
It's a nice story, isn't it? Yeah, Caroline Belton wrote a book called Putin's People, in which she asserted that exact thing had happened. I believe they're in court at the moment, so there's a defamation lawsuit going on. Hey, it's all speculation, folks. Not that Roman Abramovich would care much about what we say on this here podcast, but yeah, look, the Abramovich's wealth has been well documented, and his links to Vladimir Putin have been well documented to the extent that I think it's fairly well accepted now that he was part of the interview panel, basically, when Putin was first getting into national politics.
I wonder how that went. So, Vlad, tell us about a time you showed initiative.
Is it a behavioural interview, or are they looking for competency here? Exactly. What are your thoughts on polonium and its usage?
How many do you think? So Putin I think he's 68.
Yeah.
And it's a recurring conversation in my marital home, is whether I or me and a few of my equally unhard gobshite mates would it take to have Putin, given he's 68.
Yeah. I mean, he's 68, but he fights bears, or at least the propaganda he does.
I don't imagine his punch resistance is what it was. Channel 4 did a kind of profile, 3-parter on Putin.
Okay.
I watched it when I was in bed with Corona, so it would have been March 2020.
Yeah.
Which is really good for anyone who wants to get to know a little bit more about Putin and understand how he came to power. Funnily enough, I don't think it really gets to like what's he doing and why.
Yes.
But it is still really good. I reckon it would be me and 2 of my mates, and that would be enough.
You reckon you could have him?
That's if you watch that. I don't.
We'll get some special forces helicopters and drop you in there directly into the Kremlin, and you can.
But we're talking about the way football is responsible for all this. They gave him a World Cup.
Yep.
That enabled him to do something that placated his people, to make a load of money, to build alliances and expand the soft power.
Which we've seen has been very important in their development of their relationship with China, for example.
Right, you've got the Winter Olympics, which have been in Beijing and were previously in Sochi, and it was the things about the World Cups that are particularly egregious, and the Qatar World Cup as well. If they hadn't gone there, no one would have said, "Why is it going there? Why has it not gone there?"
No, right.
Like Russia's slightly different. Obviously, Russia's a legitimate football country, so in theory, giving it to Russia would be like that. But there was other countries that like Russia were not favourites to get it, and that it did go to Russia. Again, it seems extremely unlikely that it was just everyone was bowled over by the bid.
The quality of their technical presentation, sure.
Yeah, exactly. And
sport has a lot to answer for here. The IOC and FIFA. And of course, UEFA, the recent European Championships were partially held in Russia and Hungary, where there are some interesting leadership in both those countries. Infantino took the Medal of Freedom, or whatever it was called, off Vladimir Putin as well. Sport loves the strong man until they don't. And now we're reckoning with the results of that.
I think it's also that it has become the case that football, particularly English football, but football is the best way to speak to the greatest number of people in the world. It's pretty much the only thing that crosses religion, sex, sexuality, borders, there's race. There's nothing like that, because lots of other stuff that might be like that is forbidden in some places on grounds of religion, or might be less penetrable on grounds of language. But football, and English football in particular, if you want to speak to a lot of people, that is the way to get to speak to the biggest number of people across the widest possible boundaries. And
it works. Sport washing is a pretty new term and encompasses a lot of different ideas, but it works. It works very successfully. And Manchester City and the Abu Dhabi regime have successfully weaponized a whole community of people, and then also got a positive message alongside, and that's what Putin in the 2018 World Cup did as well.
It's interesting because obviously the internet is helpful for them, but I think the internet has made it harder to get away with it. Not to get away with it because obviously the rules are still lax, so you can get away with it. But for people to not see what's actually going on now. When Abramovich bought Chelsea, it was only about how much money he was going to spend. This billionaire who no one really knows who he is, but it was only about the money. Then when Abu Dhabi bought City, I feel ashamed at how ignorant I was at the time, but I was bitching in print, saying that it was anti-competitive and not fair on the clubs that were trying to build their way for someone to just be like a country, to just be like, here. Like, that felt anti-competitive to me, and the ability to go from one place to another place so quickly when it's not meant to be like that. And gradually, and I think it probably is mainly the internet that you are able to engage with more and more ideas, and probably the fact that you're able to read newspapers for free on the internet these days as well, probably not unrelated to that.
You're certainly right that the dissemination of information because of the internet and the ability to reach into other countries, news media and cultures, and get some of the truth of what is happening out there has increased over the last 12 years. To create a news feed. Right.
You create it on Twitter or whatever. You basically create a news feed to your interests. So it means that things that you might be interested in don't escape you. And I think you kind of get to hear about things that are adjacent to the things that you're interested in that also then become interests. But it's just harder to suppress information.
It is harder, but that is also an argument made by people saying, hey, sport washing doesn't work. Right? But
definitely. I'm not saying it doesn't work.
No, I know you're not saying that, but the totality of the positive message that Abu Dhabi have created by building Citigroup and all of this, and the geniuses that they are in doing this has been a net benefit for the country. And clearly it's a minimal investment for the impact as well. Football's always had this problem where it's little big business in that it can't monetize its reach in a way that you'd expect for the interest level, right? It's a £5 billion a year industry in the UK, and it's quite small compared to the global reach. But flip it round the other way, and that global reach is really, really useful, isn't it?
The problem, in the end, it really is, for some, it comes down to the fact that football is just too good.
Yeah.
It's too good for its own good.
Yep.
And that is why we are where we are. It took people a long time. It took money and power a long time to realise how good football was.
Yeah. But it's interesting, in some countries that was recognised, like, its importance.
But in this country, it was not to the Italian... Like, Italian 90 is always seen as the watershed. I'd say, probably... Mexico 86, people were going pretty mad for football even at that point. Obviously, there was still a lot of terrible stuff that had to yet happen.
Yes.
The full rehab came after... Where basically, rich people decided it was all right to like it. Came after Italia 90, but the country was gripped by Mexico 86 also.
The second part of that is the way you decide to structure your football, right? So in Germany and parts of Spanish football, obviously there's a lot of mutual ownership, and it's seen as because it's important socially. That's seen as more important than the financial benefit. That was not the case in England. The Premier League and the clubs decided, with the government support, that a laissez-faire approach to ownership was the way, and that's why we now have 2 state-owned clubs and 1 quasi-state-owned club, and coming back full circle to what has been happening in the world this week and the role of certain people in it. And we're going to have a reckoning. We're going to have a reckoning because it might well be that Roman Abramovich is going to be on the list of people to be sanctioned. He's on Navalny's list of 35 most important oligarchs in Russia. So,
What a list that is, oh my days.
I know.
What a night out that would be with those rules. Goodness me.
The hive of scum and villainy, right?
Like, what people like that even talk about? Yeah, it's just so odd to kind of ponder the mental toll I imagine it must take being so rich.
It would be hard, but I'd be willing to test it out for the benefit of the listeners. I can let you all know how it goes.
So. There's Patreon, please, everyone.
Exactly. Add a couple of zeros, maybe 4 or 5. You're right. It must be just an odd world.
Because the stuff that you've had to do to get to that point.
Yeah. I woke up this morning to reports that the Chelsea Board of Trustees, who I didn't know existed, who are apparently part of the Chelsea Foundation, don't actually want to be the front for Roman Abramovich, which was his grand scheme.
And yet, what have they said about Roman Abramovich between 2004 and now? Because what's just come to light about Roman Abramovich has, in fact, not just come to light.
Exactly. The football has found its moral centre. There were some very touching scenes with Alexander Zinchenko at Manchester City yesterday, and United obviously cancelled their Aeroflot deal, or are about to cancel it. And I was like, football suddenly found its moral centre. I mean, we've just signed up. The Saudi government
murdering white people is basically. That's beyond the pale. That appears to be where the line is.
That was the line that we couldn't cross. Yeah. Because there's obviously been a 10-year-old war in Yemen going, and absolutely brutal impact on millions there. And anyway, politics cast. But it's like politics and sport are the same thing, as I often say to people. Sport is politics and politics is sport.
The idea that you have to keep one away from the other. Like, number one, why would you want to? Number 2, doing nothing is a decision. So if you say we're keeping politics out of sport, that is a political decision. I'm afraid this is an unfortunate paradox for someone that wants to argue to the contrary, but there we are. And the other thing is, a World Cup is bodies demarcated with borders, engaging in competition against another of the same, with flags, kits and anthems.
Yep.
Political entity against political entity, and you're telling me that sport and politics have nothing to do with each other.
No, exactly. They are all the same thing. Which, I mean, look, we'll see what how the consequences play out in the next few weeks. I mean, obviously there are real humans involved on the ground in Ukraine at the moment who are suffering. I met up with Dennis at World is Red on Twitter at the Stockholm Europa League final. Shout out to him, thinking about him now, my one minor connection to Ukraine. But we'll see how this plays out with the politics of it all. I imagine there's a lot more to come on the Chelsea front. Anyway, shall we move on to the football? It wasn't so joyful. United 0, Watford 0. Which of United's 22 shots were closest to going in then?
Oh yesterday? Man, I preferred it when we were good. I've decided.
yeah, did you?
But no, the thing is I'm going to be 43 years old next week. I've seen enough in those years, football and not football, to understand the place of football in these things. Like, United were winning stuff from my last year in primary school to my mid-30s.
Yep.
So I'm all good with what winning in football is like and what losing at football is like. But what I find, I have never watched a team as maddening as this particular iteration of United. And what we see from them is just like, it's just the snivelling limpness of it all. And I'm going to go back to the Atletico game because that was a collective bottle of the most pathetic kind. It really was. The way that the manager called them out for it. He pretty much really said afterwards.
He really did.
I told them what to do, and they bottled it, so they didn't do it. Like, he left out they bottled it a bit, but he told them what to do, they didn't do it, and then they basically realised with about 15 minutes to go that if they put effort in, they're actually good enough to be Atletico. Weren't any good. They've got a few good players. They scored an unbelievable goal, like one of the greatest enders I've ever seen in my life. But other than that, they just put a bit of pressure on.
This was not Liverpool or City-esque pressing from Atletico. They just put a bit of pressure on, as you said. And United were absolutely unable to do any of the basics in that game. And Rangnick said afterwards, not only was he pretty pointy about Anthony Elanga coming on, and one, he takes instruction, and because he said that before, and two, he plays with some joy. I thought it was all quite pointy, that interview.
Yeah,
and the other thing he also said was that we didn't talk about tactics at half time, so maybe as a hairdryer.
It was just like, stop being dickheads, put some effort in. And so I was kind of thinking, because why do I think this is? Because I've said something last week that if you go through the players individually, there are one or two who you think are a bit shifty, but otherwise, like, they're not people that scream mental weakness particularly. There are those of them that you think aren't good enough, but there aren't that many that I think are that weak. And then I was kind of thinking that as a collective, as a body, they've seen a lot of managers come and go. So there's a point where it's like, well, if you don't like this one, it doesn't really matter because there'll be another one along in a minute. And also, they've now been told what to do. Some of these guys, like even Marcus Rashford, who some we think of as young, he's played for Van Gaal, he's played for Mourinho, he's played for Ole, he's played for Carrick, and now he's playing for Rangnick, and he's going to be playing for someone else. And
it'll be 25 and it'll be 6 managers in, for sure.
And if you think about all these players, that they've been told a lot of different things by a lot of different people, and they have one thing in common. And that one thing in common is they don't fucking work. So, so that being the case, why are they going to have confidence in what anyone in particular, unless that person comes with an unimpeachable CV, where if it's Klopp or Guardiola, maybe for them, if Pochettino comes, some of them, the English ones might think, well, my mates from England say that this guy's brilliant and he's got some charisma and we know he did well in this league. Maybe that will do it. But they don't have any individual confidence in themselves when they're playing for United in the same way, because the stuff they get told doesn't work. And obviously the stuff they get told doesn't work partly because of them, but also the stuff that they get told doesn't work. And that's individually, but also particularly collectively. They don't have they've got a lot of going behinds to come back from, but they don't have a lot of when you really need to produce it, you produce it, and they know that they can, which is one of the reasons I think that win against Wolves, I talked about the win against Wolves, the other win against Wolves Arsenal had, but this other win against Wolves I think might be the way Arsenal squad will see it, because it's something that they've done together, and they think it's a big deal even if it isn't, but... So that's my analysis. That's my COD psychology of why I think that they keep falling apart with barely any encouragement whatsoever.
the Arsenal's win against Wolves did feel big just because they weren't very good and they scored 2 really late goals, and it was against ostensibly a rival for one of those European spots. In the same way that United's sort of really limp performance against Watford, 67% possession, 22 shots, 2 on target, also felt kind of consequential because we're looking for some kind of evidence that they're going to respond to both the manager, the interim manager, who's clearly not going to get the job, or the situation at hand, have some personal responsibility because they want success, don't they? They're all going to take a 20 to 25% hit on their salaries plus all the bonuses if they're not in the Champions League. But it's not motivation enough, apparently, to produce consistent performances.
Yeah, I mean, this was another great interview from Ralph where he basically says that, I mean, he says, our job as coaches is to help the team create enough chances. A number of clear-cut chances we had today had to be enough to win a game like this. And I believe that's the translated version, but the literal translation of what he said in German was, I can't finish for you, dickheads.
It was definitely that. Yeah.
We're now at a point where United are making loads of chances in pretty much every game.
Yep.
And they're also not giving up that many chances.
Yeah.
And
I think it's across the last it's 4 or 6 games. I can't remember exactly what it is. United's XG is something like 16 with 6 goals. And it was 2.5 yesterday.
It's 11 goals from 140 shots.
Yeah, 2.5 XG. That is not valiant Watford defending well. That's crap finishing. And it's crap finishing right across the ball. I mean, it doesn't help that anywhere inside the halfway line, Ronaldo will shoot from. Just anywhere. He has 1 goal in 10 appearances now, the last 10. And he's looking... I say he looks older than he's 37 currently.
He's gone because you don't think he's going to lose the finishing.
He's definitely lost his first touch. The amount of times he's hobbling... He looks like he's hobbling around as well. And it bounces off his shins. That went with Rooney much earlier for different reasons, but it just seems to have gone. And I can't see the benefit of like absolutely flogging this dead horse at the moment, except for Mason ain't going to be playing for a while. Rashford's confidence is absolutely in the toilet. Martial was desperate to get out, and Cavani's never fit. So there aren't many options, are there? And maybe it's a worse option to play Bruno as a false 9 or Rashford up there than play Ronaldo. But he's not helping United. He's just a static pole there, and when he gets the ball, he can't finish anymore. So none of it's good for United.
No, it's not. It's sort of the way I look at it. At this point is that I think that what the Atletico game said to me is, because I had previously thought that this team had a puncher's chance of winning any cup because I think that on a good day they could beat anyone. But what that Atletico game told me is that they might have the ability and even be able to play well enough as a team to beat anyone, but mentally they absolutely have not got it to keep turning up in knockouts.
I think the only way United win knockout games, honestly, because I think it's something like United have only won 2 of 14 Champions League knockout games since Fergie left. Like 2 knockout wins in all those years. And, it's a very low number.
One of them was Olympiacos.
One of them was Olympiacos, right? After one of the worst performances. And there have been many of those in living memory. But there have unfortunately been quite a lot.
That was high up in the worst. That was one of the worst.
The idea that United is somehow a European force and can dictate these games it seems fanciful. So, coming back to my thought, I think if United went back to like playing the Ollie way, like defensive and playing on the break, it couldn't be with Ronaldo in the team, but maybe there's a chance. I don't see this United team trying to go toe to toe because for all those talented players, they're not scoring goals.
I'm not too enough. About the way they're actually playing is not bothering me that much at the moment because they're actually playing okay. Like I tell you, like the last 15 minutes yesterday, I didn't like. That used to be the case. I think Danny Taylor wrote it that United chasing a game was the most enthralling sight in football. Yeah. And what that meant was even when it didn't work out, even when they lost, you felt satisfied at the end that they'd given absolutely everything and there wasn't anything that hadn't been done, and you can't win them all, and it was quite possible to be reasonable. Obviously, it's also easy to be reasonable when you're also winning everything in sight at the same time. But there's a kind of constipated panic about the way these went about those last 15 minutes that at the end of the game, it was it was aggravating. It wasn't. There was no level of they've done everything possible to do it. Part of it is that I know they are all trying, but they don't always all give the impression that they've all run themselves into the ground.
The intensity level was low.
In the search of it. Like Bruno's usually an exception to that one. That Brighton game in particular, and those games around the games before that, he did absolutely everything he could to try and bring about a win. And obviously we can criticise his finishing yesterday. He should never have missed that first. A few couple he should never have missed. Should never have missed that one against Wolves either. A home to Wolves while we're on the topic. But he's dragging himself off the pitch at the end of it. And that was what Fergie's teams used to do as well. And I don't really see that with most of these.
No, I think you're right. I think that last 15 minutes when they had Ronaldo, Rashford, Pogba, Bruno, Sancho all on the pitch at the same time. Like also it's a full donut formation. And just actually less was coming of it than before, So the gamble didn't work. The intensity wasn't there. I don't think it was desperate. It definitely wasn't desperate. Watford. Ben Foster's hardly made a save.
Yeah, they made enough chances to win many games, and the fact that they are making chances and not conceding many goals on a regular now is a good thing. But I guess it would be easy to compare their inability to finish chances off to their mentally flopping the other day. Because you kind of, these things happen and you think maybe that will give them the kick up the arse that they need to get on with it from here. But you do sort of feel like Ralph is, in a kind of technical and tactical way, doing pretty much everything he can because he can't finish chances for them, and that is not a managerial issue. He might not be the manager to force them to do that last bit of mental development that they need to do because he might not be inspirational, and his deeds in the game so far appear to not be inspirational to the likes of Luke Shaw or whoever else and their panoply of achievements. I don't know. But I think that he understands these players. He's generally doing a pretty sound job, I think.
It's never binary, is it? But on the sort of dichotomy between like managerial competence and player effort, I'm falling on the manager's probably competent and the players are not trying hard enough.
Or playing well enough.
Whatever. Or playing well enough. And I don't really see that changing before the end of the season. The one hope in the search for this fourth place trophy is that the other teams are pretty inconsistent too. Spurs definitely are. Wolves have lost 2 in a row now. And then Arsenal are the challenge, really, because they're 2 points behind with 3 games in hand. They may stop scoring, honestly.
We may beat them in the head-to-head. They're struggling to score.
Might have to.
And all it would have taken for United to have got maximum points the last 4 or 5 games is sensible behaviour. Or even sensible mindless behaviour would have been enough to get maximum points from the last few league games. So it doesn't feel like the next bit that they have to surmount is very significant or should take them very long to do. But obviously you can't say anything when you're talking about this particular group of individuals.
Yeah. If you're just looking at the data from a data point of view, you'd say massively underperforming the XG, it's got to revert.
They're reversing,
You'd make that assumption. I don't know whether something has to change, though, just to force that. And, Ronaldo yesterday, he lost possession a third of the time he got the ball. He didn't get the ball very often because he doesn't move anymore.
He's not doing anything. He's a net negative to the team currently. That's what it comes down to.
He's just standing there. Yeah.
And if you think that he may well not stay next season, we may not want him to stay next season. I wouldn't want him to stay next season anything other than an impact sub.
It's 10% of United's playing budget and more.
So if you think that we're not going to win the Champions League, and as I said, this is a reluctant position I've taken, based on the fact that I don't trust them to not collapse mentally rather than anything else. And fourth now appears to be a long shot too. There's not a whole lot of point playing players that are not going to be United next season.
That's an interesting argument, isn't it? I mean, there's going to be a lot of players. Cavani aren't. Ronaldo may or may not be. I mean, I imagine he'll be seeking to Paris Saint-Germain or Newcastle or whoever can afford his wages if United aren't in Champions League. I can't see him slumming it in the Europa or the Conference.
I almost want us to be in it for him to have to do that with the youth team. Go and inspire them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a Europa Conference group game at FC Reykjavik or whatever. 3 people on a sheet. I'd quite enjoy that game, but I can't see it. And look, what is it? 5 of them out of contract, a whole bunch of others that need to go in the summer. A lot of refreshed, and United have never, on the executive level, have to be capable of actually achieving. But it's an argument for the players who aren't going to be there, who aren't inspired or inspiring. What's the point?
Yeah, you want to be good next season, and the way you be good next season is you start to think, well, what's the team going to look like next season? And those players who are going to be involved should be the ones who are playing. I mean, it feels like Elanga is now in the team. Last time it took a goal from Rashford. All Rashford had to do basically was score a nice goal, and then he pretty much got his spot back. But now, it looks like Elanga's going to stay. I thought he played pretty well yesterday.
He was all right. I like his movement. I think he does add some dynamism to United. He's got some important goals. And, I can't, as a pod, I don't really know what his ceiling looks like. But he's done enough to earn a place, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we can see, I think that he is going to be a Premier League player. And he's probably be someone who'd be good enough to be a squad player for a good United team. I think that I feel bad. I feel like Michael Owen got loads of grief for saying this the other day on BT, and I don't think he expressed it very well, which is why he got stick, and I'm sure he just got some stick because it was Michael Owen. But I actually going to defend him, and I think what he was more or less saying was he's not as good as Rooney and someone else he wasn't as good as, can't remember who. And the point, I don't think, isn't to say that Elanga isn't a good player or that no one should be enjoying what Elanga's doing. It's that to play in the front three for United, in theory, you should be one of the best in the world in your position. And he doesn't know whether Elanga's going to be that. And I think that is fair. He could go on to be that. He's got ability. I'd like him. He needs to tidy up his touch and his finishing a little bit. And it's things that you can easily do. I don't know that you can easily do them. I don't think he's as technical a player as Rashford was at his age. Like, if you think about the goals that Rashford scored against West Ham, against City, when he first broke through, I'm not sure Elanga is able to do that, but he might be able to do some different things. But as far as it goes at the moment, he more than deserves his place in the team. And it's just a pleasure, because Rio did some good analysis of him where he said, he's desperate for it. And it comes through when he plays. And the other thing that Rio didn't mention, I always think is significant, is that he really thinks he's good enough.
And he's not been infected by the negativity that has coursed through this squad for the last few years. There's time to destroy it, of course.
No, he was running on the ball yesterday, and I think it was one of the misses in the first half, and he doesn't get the ball. I think it's one Ronaldo misses, but he gives the ball, and he's running in behind, and he's screaming and pointing to where he wants the ball. And you don't really see a lot of that. I guess we might call it enthusiasm.
You mentioned Rashford. His form is starting to become more than concerning, isn't it? But it's what's the right way of putting it? His joy of playing at the moment is zero. He does not want to be on that pitch. He does not want the ball. Nothing he does works at all. He was dreadful against Atletico. He had, I can't remember how many minutes yesterday against Watford and didn't do anything of any kind of consequence. So having someone in the team that wants the ball, wants to score, wants to do his best, it is enthusiastic and hasn't been infected by the disease that is United at the moment is nice, isn't it? And maybe he'll score the goal somehow. Win the European Cup, which will now be played in Paris, the final. So
in one of the
another great soulless corporate stadium.
But worse, it's worse than Wembley. It's worse.
Wembley has. I've not been.
I was at the game that we lost to Lille in. I was in 05-06 with Smith in midfield. The game sort of became over time crystallised as it might be time for Fergie to do one. The team are getting booed off, and actually I've got a segue here. I do. Where
go for it.
that game was probably that group. United played in that group with Benfica, Villarreal. There was only about, I think it was
Yes.
9 goals in all the games total, something like that. And but the thing about that was all coming away from all those games, you felt like you hadn't really seen a game. That the ball had barely been in play, and 3 minutes of injury time yesterday. Bugger all against Southampton and Burnley and there's no reason for this to be the case. It shouldn't be the case that if you're able to Brian McClare the ball off the goalkeeper, pick it up and run to the halfway line, that should not affect the outcome of a game of football. And the only way to do this is you do 30-minute halves, ball in play time. We see the clock, we see it stop when the ball's dead, we see it start again, and immediately the refs wouldn't have to worry about timekeeping, which is so arbitrary and so much more important sorting that out than sorting out VAR. Because when you go to a game and you come away and you think, I'm not really seeing a game, and I mean, I don't blame the players for it. Like, they'll do anything to try and win, obviously. They're footballers. Why would they not? But that really does thing, and I find it extremely agitating that you don't get. I was almost pleased I wasn't pleased, but I was almost pleased when Arsenal equalised against Wolves in the time when Arsenal scored the winner against Wolves in the time that was being added because Wolves have been time wasting.
Yep.
Because you need to be able to watch a game of football and it be a game of football and not be about. It's just so easy to stop time wasting, just in that way that I just said it there. That's how you stop it.
It is being trialled. How many minutes do you reckon United would have needed yesterday to have scored? 2 games worth?
I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, the United. Yeah, I mean, who really knows? Just it's still, when you think about it, just by you saying that, has reminded me about it again, like the inability to finish over the last few games and how absolutely absurd it is. Players have scored loads of goals in their career.
Yep, you're talking about I've not been to Stade de France. I've been to Parc de France actually, which I thought was good fun back in the day. Wembley is horrible.
It's better. It's much better than the Stade de France because you're not. It's a bit squarer and a bit steeper.
Yeah, and that always matters. I mean, the old Wembley was obviously an absolute
latrine.
Just, you drowning in piss all the time. Yeah, and it had horrible sight lines because it was, there was about the bottom row of seats to the top row of seats, and some atmosphere. The new one doesn't. It always struck me, watching sports here in the States, that although they're all brand new, soulless, horrible stadiums, they make an effort to make the experience better. So I can go road and watch some horrible MLS football at a giant stadium, but there'll be a whole bunch of beer and food trucks and like lots of other fun stuff to do, even if the sport's crap. Something awful about Wembley that doesn't have any of that atmosphere, even if it's fake.
So I don't need anything other than a game of football. It just should be like, the thing about Wembley in particular is that
but it should enhance it.
They had so much money. They spent so much money making it crap. Same as Emirates. Yeah. I couldn't believe the first away we played at the Emirates, and it was just like, oh my god, you got rid of Highbury for this.
Yeah.
You didn't support the team that won the league in 2004, and you got rid of one of the greatest football grounds in the history of the world for this.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. And I just couldn't imagine like the way that your heart would sink when you went in for the first game, and as an Arsenal supporter, and you just saw that it was that, because it wasn't one of the new builds. So they had time to see how not to do it, and then they went and did it anyway. Mm-hmm. The Stade de France is worse because it's shallower. It's even shallower than Emirates, and also Emirates has redemptive. It's like there's good food and drink around, whereas Saint Denis is not.
Well, it's right in the middle. It's right in the middle of Islington as well. So I guess you're not, at least Stade de France is out of town, isn't it? Anyway, we've got a game next weekend against City. How's that going to go?
I tell you one other thing.
They weren't actually that good against Everton, I have to say.
One other positive about yesterday in the last couple of games is Wan-Bissaka looks to be on his way back.
Maybe.
He's not as bad as he has been over the last bit. And he was always someone who it seemed like with a bit of coaching could become quite a lot better quite quickly. Over the amount of time he's been with United, I've sort of begun to wonder if he's just not going to be alert enough to be a top-level defender. But I thought he thought he looked much better yesterday, particularly in the first half and also the previous game. So hopefully, I mean, it seems, Dalot hasn't played for 3 games now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And we've had a couple of big ones there. So it seems like Wan-Bissaka has now got that place back, I think.
Potentially, yeah. Or unless Ralph sees Victor Lindelöf back. I hope not.
Oh, man.
After that mess.
So I think that, they could play well against City because, again, it's not like I object to the last 15 minutes yesterday. But other than that, my objections are more to do with profligacy in front of goal and being wimps.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because they had 60-odd% possession of the ball against Atletico, don't want the ball, and the same against Watford. And this will obviously be completely the other way around. United will have none of the ball because we can't retain it.
It'll chase it.
Or chase it, yeah. So I assuming McTominay's fit, he's going to play in Fred with midfield. And Bruno, if he gets the ball, give it away because that's what he does, or maybe create a chance. I guess we know what the pattern of the play will look like in this game. We can't do what we did when Oli was in charge. It sounds like I'm just bashing on Ronaldo every other sentence here.
Because he's not Martial.
Yeah, you got to surround him with quick players, and on form it's Sancho and Elanga, who are neither of whom are that quick. So it's going to be
quick.
He's quick enough. Yeah, he's quick enough.
Yeah, Sancho's quite quick with the ball, but Elanga is quick enough over the first 2 yards to get past most people, and he'll fill out a bit as well, I think.
I just wonder whether that's the balance of that front three will even allows United to play on the break, or whether it's just be defensively solid and use our famed set pieces to win this game. It just, how United create chances looks dubious. Although obviously we've, six games we've been creating chances. So.
What I'm worried about is that from the kickoff, City get the ball, and I don't see it for the first 10 minutes, and City score in that 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, and
I'm not really worried. If United can stay in the game, they will make They'll make enough chances to wind us all up. I promise you. The City aren't good at the back. United have got good attackers. They've got a system that's working, sort of. I don't trust them to keep City out, obviously. But I think my fear for that game is that they turn up and they're intimidated.
Yeah.
And City start quickly, and I don't believe that they've got what it takes really to sit in the game in that kind of situation. But this weekend last year, they beat City. Quite comfortably,
yes.
When City were on a better run than the one that they're on now.
Yes.
And it was the same players, except we now have Varane, Jadon Sancho, and Ronaldo. So it's just so they're very hard to understand this lot. And if they turn up and they are disciplined and they defend well and they attack well, then as I said, they will create chances. And it feels like the converting of the chances will probably come. It'll probably come too late to salvage this season, and we will need someone who does it next season. But they're getting towards the point where you feel that they could beat anyone again because they are making chances. And it all reminds me a little bit of, obviously, the Havdil, as they say in Hebrew, which is where to suggest that you're just making a comparison, but it's not really a comparison. Before they signed Eric. And obviously that team was almost complete apart from Eric and had brilliant players in it, more than this one. But there were games that were very similar to the ones that we're seeing where they just were on top and they just couldn't find their way to goal.
Yeah.
And we saw it in the second half of 91-92 particular, but also in the first half of 92-93 before Eric came. There was two particular, I remember 2 games against Villa, one in the League Cup, one in the Liga, lost them both 1-0. But the actual play was all right. They just couldn't find a way of finishing things off, and then they signed Eric, and then everything changed. And it's also a bit like that with this team. Not that obviously they don't have amazing players in other positions in the same way, but it is just that getting the round thing between the oblong thing. And
it's one of the more important aspects of football. Still,
won the possession. They won the possession again yesterday.
Won the XG for the 6th game in a row or something.
2 massive wins in a row.
Yeah. I can't say I'm coming into it with all that much confidence. But look, City were pretty lucky. We'll talk about this more in the backers content. They were pretty fortunate to beat Everton. Of course, they're going to have all of the ball. And it was one piece of poor ending, I think, from former United player Michael Keane that let Phil Foden in, and they were unlucky with a penalty shout and all of that. So, details. But it didn't look like a terrifying City performance yesterday.
I said it before, and also I don't think this team are that good. The City team are that good. They're not in the same league as the Guardiola's first team that won the league here.
Right. The
team that had Aguero and David Silva, and I don't think they're as good as that team were. It's not hard to pick areas where you can get at them.
Yeah.
And whether I'm saying that like Shalman.
No. I like the ball case here. Let's find reasons United can win.
The centre backs aren't that good. Like there'll always be a weakness in fullback on one side. You can get like Rodri's a really good player. I'm not going to pretend he isn't, but he's not that quick.
Yeah.
You can get around him. There are opportunities against them, obviously. But yeah, we'll just spurn them. So what can you do?
All right. I guess that's it for this week. It's a 2 or 3-0 win coming up for United, surely. Honest.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Well, it was last season. What was it? Emirates? Not Emirates. The Etihad. Get the right airline.
It was 2-0, wasn't it?
Well, we'd all take that. Thanks, everyone. I'm at NQ80pod on Twitter. Dan's at Daniel Harris. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think. And we'll see you all next week.